Hello guys, welcome to my video. This video is going to be all about tattoo blowouts. What a blowout actually is. I'm going to guide you through actually what causes a blowout, and more importantly how we can fix them. Let's talk about what an actual blowout is. A blowout is when the tattoo needle goes too deep into the skin. It puts ink too deep in the skin, and the result of that is you get, instead of a nice crispy straight line or whatever you're doing, you'll get like a blurriness around the edge of it where the ink's spread out under the skin. And I'm going to show you exactly why the ink does that, and again try to show you how to avoid it, and if you do get a blowout, the best action to take. So since we're talking about skin and the ink going in the skin and everything, so let's first of all look at the actual skin, the layers that make up the skin, and then I can explain exactly what a blowout is. So there's three main layers to the skin which we're looking at. The first layer is called the epidermis, which is the topmost layer of the skin. The next layer is the dermis, which is where we want our ink to sit. And the third layer is the hypodermis, also known as the subcutaneous tissue. The epidermis, this is the layer which provides a waterproof barrier for our skin. Now, if we were to tattoo into this is the the very top layer of skin. If we were to just sit our ink in this layer, in the epidermis, what would happen is when the skin had fully healed, your tattoo would basically disappear because you just haven't gone deep enough. The next layer down, which we're aiming for to put our tattoo ink, is the dermis. Now, this layer's a little bit thicker than the epidermis. Anywhere in here, this is what we're aiming for. This is where we're aiming to put our tattoo ink. If our tattoo ink goes in here, it stays nice and crispy, it doesn't blow out, and it looks good. Now, in the dermis, this is what contains the tough connective tissues, and it also contains sweat glands, hair follicles. And again, this is where we want our ink to be. Now, the hypodermis isn't really a layer of skin as such. This area is fat. It's like a layer of fat. It's known as subcutaneous tissue, and this is the reason why we get blowouts, because let's say my Sharpie, this is a tattoo needle, okay? So if I'm coming down past the epidermis, which is what I want to do, into the dermis, that's fine. But usually what people tend to do, especially when they're first getting into tattooing, and even if they're apprenticing under someone, because there's, at the end of the day, there's only so much that your mentor can do. It can't actually physically hold your hand and control the depth, but basically, a blowout is when you go through these two layers, the epidermis and the dermis, and you're coming down into the hypodermis. Now, ink will not sit in the hypodermis like it does in the dermis, because again, it's a layer of fat. So what happens is, instead of the ink sitting nice in the skin, what tends to happen is it starts to spread out in the layer of fat, and the results of that is when it's all healed, when you look at the skin, you're looking at the ink, and because the ink's in here, it looks all blurry and all smudged, and that's basically that's what a blowout is. That's when the term gets thrown around quite a lot in the tattoo industry, and some people they throw the term around, they don't actually know what it even means, but this is what a blowout is. Just quickly, while we're on the subject, because our ink sits in the dermis, and then obviously this top layer heals, the epidermis heals when your tattoo is fully healed. This is why tattoos tend to fade a little bit when they're fully healed as opposed to when they're really fresh, because this top layer of epidermis is healed, and then the ink sat here underneath it. So that's why tattoos fade as well. So if you've subscribed to my channel and you've watched quite a few of my videos, you'll know that I do a lot of analogies. And today's no different. I'm going to show you an analogy exactly what happens when we tattoo too shallow in the epidermis, what happens when we tattoo in the dermis, and more importantly, what happens when we tattoo in the hypodermis. And to explain all that to you, I've got a really simple thing here which I've just put together. So let's say that this cellophane on here, this is the epidermis. So the cellophane's this, okay? The paper is what we're aiming for. So it's a layer below the epidermis is the dermis, the paper's the dermis, and then on the third layer I've made a little cutout here, and underneath there is the hypodermis, which is the layer of fat, and basically all that is a piece of tissue. So I've got my tattoo machine, my Sharpie, and this is what happens. So let's just say I'm tattooing along my design here, you know, let's say there's a stencil on the skin, and I'm tattooing along a straight line here and going straight across the skin, okay? So this is what's going to happen. I'm coming past the epidermis here with my ink, and straight away, well, it's not really gone in, and you do get a similar effect to that if you do go too shallow as well. It's kind of sketchy when you wipe off, or if it's there at all even. So again, I've come along here with my tattoo machine. Try and do it like that so you can actually see it, and then I'm going to move on then to the dermis, and then I'm going to go into the hypodermis, and watch what happens when we get to the hypodermis. I'm going to zoom ready on it so you can see it happening in real time. Okay, so again, there's the epidermis, and I'm going to start where I left off and come across. So here we go, this is the dermis, nice and crispy line. We'll get to the hypodermis. Look what's happening. See that? And it's spreading out. Okay, I've not changed anything on the pen, or let's say the tattoo machine, and then I carry on onto the dermis again. Now, an example of this would be someone's tattooing, and halfway along the tattoo they've gone too deep, and then they've got the right depth again. That's exactly what's happened there. So let me zoom in on this and show you. And you can see what's happened is it's spread out, because the tissue under there hasn't got the properties that the paper's got. You know, the paper's, it holds the ink nice, it sits on it nice and crispy, but as soon as it jumps into this bit here, which would be our layer of fat, it starts to spread out. Let me just put a little dot on that just to show you. Watch it spread out. That's going nice and close. See it spreading? And that's exactly what happens under the skin. The ink starts to spread out. Now, it's very, very unusual to see a tattoo which is fully blown out all the way around, because that would mean that the person, whoever's tattooing, have actually gone in really, really deep and done the whole tattoo really, really deep. And if you ever hear people, a lot of clients of mine say, oh, you know, I had a tattoo done years ago on someone's kitchen table, and it was excruciating, I nearly passed out. It's probably because what they've done is they've just dug the needle in and basically carved the person up. And along with blowouts obviously comes scar tissue, because they've gone too deep as well. I had a client once who actually told me, you know, that after the tattoo they had done, they showed me the tattoo they had done, and you could see it was blown out really bad, like really bad. You know, it was all blurry around the edges. They actually got blood poisoning. They actually got septicemia from it, because the tattooist, whoever did it, actually put that much ink into the person's bloodstream. They ended up in hospital. So it can be really, really dangerous getting blowouts. And especially if you're using cheap ink, I'd say time and time again in videos, you know, guys, don't buy cheap ink. It's a really, really bad idea. So, first and foremost, if you do a blowout on someone, you know, when it's fresh, the best advice I can tell you is to leave it alone. Just let that fully heal. Let the skin completely heal, and then see where you are with it. If a client comes to you with a blowout, which has been done, you know, and it's fully healed, they've had it done a long time ago, the only way, really, that I find you can fix a blowout is not by tattooing directly over the blowout, because you're still going to have these blurry edges. The only way to fix a blowout, in my opinion, is to go to the edge of the blowout and put a nice, fresh, crispy line, you know, both sides of it, and then take the design from there. Obviously this is just an analogy, so this, you know, it's just a few lines, but let's say you had some script, you know, and it was a bit blurry around one of the letters. You could try and thicken up one of the letters, sculpt it out and style it out, but basically the only way, you know, you're not going to fix this underneath. So just by going over the top of it again, you're not really going to change anything. You've got to get to the sides of it, and to fix any sort of blowout you need to go around the sides of it. And you know, it's a bit hard to give advice on the actual design, because obviously this is just an analogy, but yeah, you'd have to work it out basically to the design, to what you're dealing with. But like I say, the only way that I know that you can fix a blowout is to really get the right depth and go to the edge of it and take it from there. So again, I've already covered what causes the blowout. There's some factors which will make a blowout more common. These factors are using a rotary machine. I've gone in depth with about this on another video. Subscribe to my channel, check out my other videos why you should learn a coil machine first. That goes into depth why coil machines are a lot safer to use, and you can actually set a coil machine so you can't really get a blowout with it, because you can set the power on the magnets to not go as deep. With a rotary machine is going to go full cycle, whatever speed it's running, and you know, because rotaries are plug and play, that they seem more appealing, especially to people who are just getting in the trade and they're just starting out. It's like just plugging a rotary and go. But rotaries are, you know, you've got a lot more chance of having a blowout if you're using a rotary machine than a well-tuned, a well-powered coil machine. Another factor with blowouts, and another reason why what causes blowouts is, again in my opinion, the thinner the needle configuration you use, the higher the chance you've got of a blowout. So let's say you're using this big Magnum, you know, using like a 9 mag or something like that. Because there's more resistance on the skin, you've got less chance of it going right down. You know, you need some serious power to have like a 9 mag or something blow out into the skin, because you've got all this needle resistance coming down. You'd have to really drive it down to get down there. Now, if you've got, let's say, just a 3-round liner, and you've just got this really tight pointy needle, you're hardly going to get any resistance at all. That will just go in and out that skin like a hot knife through butter. So, you know, again, back to this, if you've got like a 3-round liner, a tight one as well, that's just going to go down there if you're not careful with your depth. So again, smaller needle configurations, especially when liners are concerned, there's definitely more chance of getting a blowout, until you really know what you're doing with depths and stuff like that. So that's my video on blowouts, guys. As always, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button. I really appreciate it. Subscribe to my channel, and there'll be some more videos coming soon. Thanks, guys.